さて、前置きはこれぐらいにして、そろそろクエストを始めよう。まずは、下のスクランブル交差点がよく見えるところまで行ってほしい。
逃げなきゃ。このままじゃ本当に殺されちゃうよ。
聞こえなかった？スクランブル交差点を見下ろせるところへ移動するんだ。
His tone was soft, yet his voice was unbelievably cold. His voice was so sharp, any will I had left to defy him was sapped away. My legs were shaking, and they refused to move. I wrapped my arms around myself. I had even lost the ability to discern whether I should listen to his order or not.
僕の言うことが聞けない？従ってもらわないと、ナナミちゃんの命は保証できないよ。
どうせもう死んじゃってるよ。タッキーが今から頑張ったってただの無駄死にだよ。
ナナミの声聞かせて。
I managed to squeeze that out, my voice small as could be. However, Shogun rejected my request in an instant.
その必要はないよ。君はもう少し今の状況を考えた方がいい。
I didn't want to think about Nanami's death. I didn't want to imagine her dying. I was too afraid that if I imagined it, it would become real. In the end, I relented. I started walking to a spot where I could look down at Scramble Crossing like Shogun had ordered me to. I could barely see where I was going. If I wasn't careful, I could easily trip and fall. On the side of the rooftop facing Scramble Crossing, a transparent acrylic plate protruded out and up like a wall. It was about 3 stories high. As I approached the wall, I could hear the tumult of the crossing below. As a single woman's voice caught my ear. It seemed like it was coming from the Jumbotron mounted on the neighboring building.
アクリル板の壁に一箇所だけ壊れて穴が開いている部分があるだろう。
I wiped away the cold sweat on my forehead, and then moving only my eyes, I looked towards the wall. Just as Shogun had said, there was a hole where a single person could pass through. It had an unnatural shape to it, like it had been smashed open. It had clearly been destroyed by human hands. Of course, there was nothing beyond the hole, only a sheer 8-story drop leading straight down to the concrete below.
そこから顔を出して、下にいるギャラリーに挨拶してあげて。
Boah, der kann ja kaum normal mit Leuten reden, geschweige denn eine Masse ansprechen. What had he just said?
もう一度言おうか。その穴から身を乗り出して、下にいる人たちに手を振ってあげてほしい。
He couldn't mean...
ほら、あいつタッキーを殺す気なんだって。
I gulped. Was this how he had gotten the 5 people to jump off? It really wasn't. It was exactly as Seyatan had said. There was no way out of it. I was going to die. He was going to make me jump down from here and die.
そんなの嫌だ。
拒否すれば、ナナミちゃんは死ぬよ。
従えばタッキーは死んじゃうよ。
What the hell was I supposed to do? I tried to figure out what the best course of action was, but the only thing circling my mind were the most negative delusions possible. I was unable to think straight. Someone, save me.
鬼のバーカ。
I could hear Nanami's voice echoing within my panic-stricken ears.
バーカ。
Memories of Nanami smiling happily resurfaced in my mind. She looked so carefree. It was all my fault. Nanami had nothing to do with any of this, but because of me, she had gotten kidnapped by Shogun, and then he had cut off her hand. I'm sorry, Nanami. I'm so sorry. I wiped away my tears, but that didn't stop them. I wiped once again. Then, with my vision still blurry, I slowly approached the smashed hole. And then, more afraid than I had ever been before, I looked down. Die Lichter sind wirklich auf ihn gemacht. Suddenly, a huge cheer akin to a rumbling of the very earth itself came from the people below. A large crowd was gathered in front of the station. The media was there too. They were all there for an event that was about to unfold. Suddenly, a blinding light hit me. I squinted reflectively and looked away. Then my eyes landed upon the jumbotron of the closest building. What I saw was unmistakably me. Huh? Me? On the jumbotron was my own face, covered in tears and with my mouth hanging half open like an idiot. My back was hunched too. For a split second, I thought I was hallucinating. A chill ran through me as I thought that someone secretly recording me somewhere. And then considered if I was being projected, there was actually images taken from my thoughts by Shogun. But after exhausting every last possible option, I realized that it had to be a live feed of me, right at this very moment, at this very place. And the video playing on the Jumbotron even had a news ticker featuring sensational taglines. Live from the Shibuya Station Plaza, the amazing Esper Boy finally makes his debut. The ticker commenting the situation along the bottom of the screen. The amazing Esper Boy, endorsed by the psychic of the century, Yuri Brightman, appears. Don't miss this one. Will he divine the new gen perpetrator's true identity? After reading it, I finally understood. I finally understood what the media and the spectators on the scramble crossing below me were looking at. It was me. Don't look at me. Why were they fixated on me? Esper Boy? What the hell was that all about? Did any of them have any idea what happened today? We got hit by a damn earthquake, a seismic intensity 5.1. Over 100 fucking people had died. So why? Why were each and every one of them? Why were they so waiting there just to see an otaku freak like me to make an ass of himself? Oh yeah. It sounded like fans cheering from the bleachers at a soccer game. Or maybe a volleyball game. The entirety of the Decunes who had gathered in Scramble Crossing had all begun chanting in unison. Maybe this was a planned part of the event, or maybe Shogun had mind-controlled them into doing it. They all followed the same rhythm as they raised their hands overhead and shouted the same words. They were all insane. I was horrified. The chant wasn't stopping. In the midst of that chant, I could hear the high-pitched voices of female Decunes. Wow. What the fuck? As I listened closely, I noticed the one thing they all had in common. They were all making fun of me. To them, they were just having fun and laughing to their heart's content. Everything was fine as long as they were having fun. A festival dedicated to my sacrifice. A true shit show. All I wanted to do was join in, make fun of myself the way everyone else was. Every last one of them was a Decune. Nobody would be coming to my rescue. Everyone who would come here wished for my death. Crowd psychology was going to kill me. Not out of hatred or fury, but simply because that was what everyone else wanted to see.
やだ。 やだ、やだ、やだ。痛い。
I was scared, this close to pissing myself. I had never felt so close to death before. It felt like my consciousness was drifting away. Ich kann das vollkommen verstehen. Der steht bestimmt, soll man sich, 200, 300 Meter in der Höhe am Rand eines Gebäudes, wo der Wind alleine ihn schon runterfallen lassen kann. Aua! And now I was like a child throwing a tantrum. I started to cry. I hoped that by doing so Shogun would let me go. I hoped that by doing so the crowd below would maybe feel sympathy for me and could come save me. I hoped that by doing so the police would realize I wasn't the culprit, just an innocent Otaku freak, and then they would come save me. I hoped that by doing so my parents who would be watching TV at home would come and take my place. I hoped that by doing so Remy would come rushing in to save me. I hoped that by doing so I would suddenly wake up and realize that it was all a dream. With this myriad of hopes in my mind, I shook my head desperately and then I cried out my soul wish. I don't want to die. And yet...
その場から一歩でも下がれば、ナナミちゃんは死ぬからね。
Shogun's tone hadn't changed at all from before.
君はもう舞台に上がってしまったんだ。覚醒するには最高のステージだとは思わないか？そこに集まっている人たちも君に期待しているんだよ。もしそれを裏切れば、ボートと化して君に襲いかかってくるかもしれない。
When he said that, I froze, unable to take a step back nor look behind me.
気にすんな。ただの脅し文句だよ。タッキー、ナナミッチは死んじゃったんだよ。今ここで逃げ出してもタッキーは悪くないってば。
Even if that was true,
そこから見える景色に集中してほしい。
Shogun's voice was very calm, which somehow only made him all the more intimidating. I couldn't even find it in me to say anything back.
君にここでしてもらうことは一つだけ。
飛び降りるなんてできない。死んじゃう。
誰もそんなことは言っていないよ。
Huh? Was I wrong? Did that mean I didn't have to die?
君にはそこから一歩も動かずに理想度を見つけてもらう。
Find my D-Sword? How? I'd been searching for it as hard as I could for a long time, but I never even gotten close. It was completely absurd to think I should suddenly find it here just because he had ordered me to.
理想度はいわば妄想の剣。それだけ言えばわかるだろ。
No.
騙されちゃダメだよタッキー。理想度なんて実在しないって。妄想が実際にあるわけないっしょ。
見つかるわけないよ。
君はこれまでに剣を持った人間と何度か接触した。そうだね。その人物から聞いているはず。理想度をどうやって手に入れたの？よく思い出して。
この剣は命運を握る。この剣は嘆きを収束させた。この剣は超越した場所に干渉するためだ。イクイクのような同一次元上にあるもう一つの可能性、あるいは妄想。言い方にあまり意味はないが、唯一確かにこの剣もその領域に存在しているということ。いつの間にかそこにあった。気づかなかったわ、最 初は。でもちょっとだけ見方を変えたら分かった。もしかして匠にはもう見えているかも。見ているだけ。世界を疑い、仕組みを知る。お前の見ている景色は本物か。妄想、現実にすることが可能だ。本当じゃないものが景色に紛れ込む。つまりエラーを現実として認識させる。
そうだ。すでに多くのヒントが提示されているよね。君にはもう見えているはず。君の眼下に広がっているその景色の中に。
So what he was saying was, Shogun was hiding a deep sword somewhere in the scenery I was looking at, and I just had to find it?
見つけたら許してくれるの？
見つけるだけじゃクエストクリアにはならない。実際に剣を手に入れるんだ。その場から一歩も動いちゃならないっていうルールを破らないようにしてね。
There was no way I could do that. If I couldn't move from here, how was I supposed to grasp the fucking sword? How the hell did he even want me to do?
だからあいつは無理難題を突きつけておいて結局タッキーを殺したいだけなんだって。
それができないならナナミちゃんの命はないよ。
逃げようタッキー、お家に帰ろう。
But he just said that if I move one step from here, Nanami will die.
ナナミッチはどうせ助からないってば。
But he said that I could save her.
あいつの言葉を信じるの？嘘ついてるかもしれないよ。
I strained my eyes. The bright lights from below made it hard to see much of the scenery art at all. The farther away it was, the harder it was to see. I was trying as hard as I could to look around. But the scenery I could see from here wasn't all that vast. Most of it was hidden behind buildings. But I had to find my sword.
無理だよ。
What the hell was I supposed to do? I thought about what Ayas and Senna had said once.
でもちょっとだけ見方を変えたら分かった。本当じゃないものが景色に紛れ込む。
When I thought about that, for some reason I recalled the pattern of the ceiling in my parents' house. Back when I was a kid, I remembered having random thoughts about it before I'd gone to sleep. To me, the grain of the wood on the ceiling had looked somewhat like a face. And once I had seen it that way, I could no longer see it as anything else.
はいはい、目の錯覚目の錯覚。そんな木目どこにでもいっぱいあるよ。
She was right. This didn't really compare to wood patterns, did it?
切り取るんだ。
Shogun murmured, his tone as detached as ever.
剣が見えたならそこから切り取る。君にはそれができる。
はーい、意味不明。そいつは適当言ってるだけだよ。
妄想は現実にすることが可能だ。
Just like that flower bed, just like when Ayase had divided herself in two. But the last time I tried to materialize a real D-sword, I tried using a delusion on the fake one, but it didn't work. I shook my head once more, then scanned the scenery visible from here. I saw a sword. Oh je. Ich habe gesehen, dass das Spiel hat quicksaved und ich habe kein Schwert gesehen. I distinctly saw a sword. Oh je. Ich hoffe, ich sterb jetzt nicht oder so, deswegen. If I move from here, I can take it. Nee, ich darf nicht moven. Can see the sword from other places than here. Nein, ich muss hier bleiben. It's not actually a sword. I'd seen it. Within the night, landscape blurred by my teary eyes. Amidst the scenery, which light was warped by my welling tears, I found a spot that looked just like a sword. Wow! Echt jetzt? Just like that, what Ayase had said. I hadn't noticed at first, but when I had so slightly altered my perspective, it was there before I knew it. Even if it had just been a coincidence, I was more happy than with it. The more I thought of it as a sword, the more defined it became, and over time, it was becoming more and more real. I was slowly turning it into a definitive part of the scenery. Eventually, even its contours became clearly distinguishable. Likely having noticed my change in demeanor, Shogun immediately spoke to me.
手を伸ばしてその剣を切り取ってほしい。深く考えなくていいんだ。君にならできる。
できるわけないじゃん。ダメ、タッキー。そんなことしたら下に落ちちゃう。落ちたら死んじゃうよ。
I looked down. I saw the crowd filled with countless people. The ambulance still had yet to arrive, just like back at noon. The response time was far, far too slow. Not that it was surprising, that was just how damaging the earthquake this morning had truly been.
切り取るなんてできないよ。
固定観念にとらわれたらダメだ。最初からできるわけがないと思っていたら何もできない。常識を捨て去ってあるがままを見ればいい。君には力がある。世界はその力に応えてくれる。あの花壇みたいに。
Could I really do that? If I just reached out, would that short sword become mine? If so, then I should at least give it a try. Ayase had said that my D-sword would bring me salvation. Maybe those words were referring to exactly what was happening now. I would grasp the sword, complete the quest, bring Nanami home safe and sound, and have Shogun leave me alone forever. And then I would return to my peaceful life that I've been living up until now.
そんなに都合よくいくと思う？将軍があっさりタッキーを見逃すって？だって相手は10人も殺した連続殺人鬼なんだよ。
Even Shogun wouldn't make me do the impossible. I could do it. He wouldn't tell me to do it if it wasn't capable of it.
あいつはタッキーを殺したいだけ。
Hey Mike, hi. Ich habe gerade noch mein Alert gesehen. Willkommen, willkommen. Aber ich versuche jetzt gerade nur noch das Kapitel jetzt zu Ende zu machen. Das sollte nicht mehr so lange dauern, wenn man den ganzen Sachen hier gerade zuschaut. Scheint von der aktuellen Story recht final auszusehen. Zumindest das ist Teilstory, sag ich mal. Na gut, dann lese ich mal weiter. Da.
忘れたの？集団ライブの映像。将軍は5人の男女を一回も触れることなく転落死させたんだよ。
I'm sorry, Seratan, but I'm already reaching for my salvation. The crowd below started rumbling. My every move was being monitored by the thousands of people packed in front of the station. And it wasn't just them, I was also being watched by tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people all over Japan watching live on TV. I started feeling nauseous. The extreme pressure imposed by such a large number of people made my heart feel like it could explode at any second. No, just forget about them. If I stayed focused on them, I'd be too nervous to even lift a finger. I needed to focus only on the sword. Being as careful to maintain my footing as possible, I reached my hand out. I tried to aim directly at the sword, letting my intuition do the rest. I felt nothing. The wind rushed toward me relentlessly. On top of that, the direction it was coming from was inconsistent. 1 second it was blowing at me from the front, the next it pushed me from the side. I clung to the acrylic plate in an attempt to support myself, but it was too slippery to bring me anything more than emotional support. If I let my guard down even slightly, I would get blown off. Even so, I was still trying desperately to grab the sword, but no matter how hard I tried, I didn't succeed.
できるわけないよ。だってあれは本当の剣じゃないんだよ。
Tears welled up once more. My vision blurred, and what had once appeared to be an object similar to a sword began to lose its shape. I quickly wiped my tears away. I had the feeling that once I lost sight of it, it wouldn't appear ever again.
それならもっと手を伸ばせばいい。
Fuck you. You don't know how this feels. I bit my lip to hold back the tears, leaned forward more than I ever had before. I fished around in the open air with my arm, but I still couldn't grasp the sword. If I fell from here... I looked down once again. I was higher than I had thought I was. I felt dizzy, so I pulled back and clung to the acrylic plate once
ど
more.
うしたの？剣を早く手に入れて。でないといつまで経ってもナナミちゃんは戻ってこない。
I shouldn't have looked down. I couldn't stop shaking. I thought I was going to slip because of it. I was so unbelievably afraid.
できないよ。許して。
君はあまり僕を舐めない方がいい。君のわがままに付き合うつもりはないんだ。理想度を手に入れる。それができないなら、君の妹は死ぬ。君も死ねばいい。ただそれだけ。
Oh god, I don't want to die.
死にたくない。
I had no choice but to try again. I leaned out through the hole, then extended my arm. I could still see the sword over there. I tried again and again, but of course nothing happened. It felt like I could reach it, but for some reason I just couldn't do it. I leaned out even farther. I stretched my hand out as far as I could, reaching out with my entire body to try and grasp the sword. I even straightened out my fingertips. And then I slowly closed my hand. But just like every time before, I felt nothing.
手が届かないよ。
It was impossible, just like Seratan had told me it was. There had never been a way for me to grab that translucent sword. Perspective had made it look normal size, but when I actually thought about it, I realized how enormous it actually was. It wasn't a size a human could realistically carry.
その剣をつかめばクエストクリアなんだよ。
手をちゃう届かない。
ナナミちゃんを助けなくていいの？
助けて。もう許して。死にたくないんだよ。
昼間のことを思い出すんだ。君の力があればそこから落ちたとしてもまた花壇を出現させれば君は落ちても死なない。
自信ある？
Right then, Seratan's snarky whisper reached my ear. Am I sure I can do it? Do what?
タッキーがここから落ちて下の地面に激突するまでほんの3秒もないよ。その間に自分の意志でまた花壇を出現させる。タッキーがそんなすごいことできる？今まで一度も自分で意識してその力とかってのを使ったことないっしょ？
Oh je. That was true. And even if I did have powers, I had no idea how to use them.
ねえ、逃げよ。タッキーはよくやったよ。でもこれ以上は無理。死にたくないっしょ？
But Nanami.
どうせ生意気なナナミッチのことだからさ。ここでタッキーが頑張って助けたって感謝してくれなさそうじゃん。
Seratan's words got straight to the point, and it caught me off guard. It was true that even if I saved her life, Nanami would probably say something like,
お兄のせいでこんな目にあったんだからね。バカ。
she wouldn't even thank me. Instead, she would insult me. I'd have to bear living with a family that would despise me for the rest of my life. At the end of the day, no matter what I could say about her, Nanami was still just some 3D little sister. She didn't make me moe over her, and she didn't have the pure heart of a 2D character. She was always looking down on me, and she secretly, no, very not secretly, made fun of me whenever she could. What happened to my bratty bitch of a sister was none of my business. Seratan was one thing, but my shittier little sister wasn't worth betting my life on.
タッキー、自分のことだけ考えよう。私はさ、タッキーに死んでほしくないな。こうしてずっとタッキーの脳内で二人きりでお話し続けたいんよ。
Same, I also felt the most comfortable when talking to Seratan. I didn't give a shit about Nanami.
死にたくない。痛いのは嫌だ。死ぬのは嫌だ。消えるのは嫌だ。ナナミがどうなろうと。僕は痛くも痒くもない。
I muttered all of that to myself. That was my way of trying to make it sound convincing. The one I should trust, it wasn't Shogun, it was Seratan.
あの剣は剣に見えるだけで剣じゃない。ただの光の反射とか目の錯覚だ。
そうだよ。さあ、帰ろう。帰ったらさ、私のパンツ見ながらいっぱいエッチなこと想像していいから。
僕帰る。帰って、セーラタンでハーハーするよ。
嬉しいな。タッキーのためにエッチなポーズたくさんしてあげるね。
I slowly withdrew my outstretched hand. That alone made me feel much more at ease. I took Seatan out of my chest pocket and gazed at her smile. As long as I had her forgiveness, I didn't need anything else. I sniffled, sucking up the snot that had been dripping from my nose, and then turned around and started walking toward
誰
Shogun.
が動いていいと許可した？クエストはまだクリアしていないぞ。
僕は勇者なんかじゃない。妹一人救えないようなヘタレな妹だよ。僕に期待しないで、僕を見ないで、僕をそっとしておいて。
ではナナミちゃんは殺すことにするよ。
どうせもう死んでる。
She was already dead. Nanami had been brutally murdered by Shogun. Everyone would report on it starting tomorrow, treating it as the 6th new gen incident. It saddened me, but there was nothing I could do about it. I heard the sound of dripping water. No, it wasn't water. It was blood. Nanami's blood. Dark red blood dripped from the wrist where her hand had been severed.
なんで助けてくれなかったの？鬼って最低。
I screamed my guts out. The world turned crimson. My anger, my sadness, and my shame were ripping my head apart. My thoughts were a chaotic mess. Without any rhyme or reason, I charged toward Shogun. I made to grab him with his hiding place in the shadows, but I didn't get the physical response I had expected. I collapsed along with the wheelchair. I must have hurt my elbow as pain was shooting through it. Grimacing, I searched for the person who should have been sitting on the wheelchair. At my feet, I heard a head tumbled across the ground. Terrified, I slowly reached out my hand. What I felt was extremely hard. Rather than a refreshing severed head, it was clearly a helmet. A pitch black helmet.
Das Spider.
Chapter 7 Psychopath. So, damit würde ich sagen, reicht das für heute. Da haben wir das Kapitel endlich mal beendet. Und ja, arme Nanami, I guess. Aber ich schätze mal, das war's mit ihr. So, dementsprechend wünsche ich eine gute Nacht.